and welcome to this Knowledge for Knowledge webinar. My name is Dave Quinn. I'm a structural geologist at Badley Geoscience Limited. We're a UK-based software house and consultancy specialising in structural geology, seismic interpretation, corner point grid modelling, fault seal analysis, which is probably what we're best known for. We developed the algorithms that are now the industry standard. And what I'd like to speak to you today is what we offer in terms of geomechanics. And even just one of those things that we offer, actually, because it's a wide and varied field. But what I'd like to speak to you today is sweet spot prediction. So if you're working in field development planning or even appraisal and you're trying to find the best possible infill well, let's say, then it might be useful, especially if it's a fractured reservoir or even just a reservoir where fractures are known to either inhibit or enhance flow. It might be interesting to know where your sweet spots are. Now, we use two different things to do this. First of all, we'll go back to the 90s work of Barton and Zobak, and what they pretty elegantly showed was that a fundamental criteria for flow of a fracture is that it be critically stressed. And what that kind of means is that a fracture that's slammed shut in the present day stress field has no business really transmitting fluid, whereas one that's optimally oriented for critical stress, that's much more likely to be conductive. It's probably going to be dilated, and therefore it's a hydraulically conductive fracture rather than a resistive one. And it's those that you want to hit when you're planning your well. What our software does, it allows you to predict that behavior, and it also has a flavor of boundary element modeling that allows you to predict where those fractures are more likely to be and what orientation they're more likely to be in. Now, boundary element modeling itself is quite complicated, but at its simplest, I'll just explain it like this. Imagine we set up a sandbox experiment and you put in your layers of sand and then you pull apart the ends of it. What will happen? You get a normal fault orthogonal to the ends of the box, and that's repeatable and it's numerically predictable. If you know the elastic properties of the medium you're dealing in and you know how much strain you've applied, then you should be able to know how big the fracture is going to be. That's fairly basic. Imagine we set it up again, but this time there's a fracture kind of skew-ways across the box. What happens when we pull apart is that out here towards the end of the box, the fractures are still probably going to be orthogonal to the end of the box. But when we move towards the fault, they veer in response to the stress perturbation, the stress shadow, if you like, around that asperity. And that too is predictable and numerically calculable. So what we do is, in our software, if you feed it the elastic property of the reservoir you're dealing in, the faults that you've picked from the seismic, and something about the background, and it can be an extension or a compressive environment, it doesn't matter, they both work, then we can predict where the high strain events are, and therefore there's more likely to be more fractures, and in the event of a fracture, what orientation it's most likely to be in. Then you have all the elements you need for a sweet spot analysis, because you know where their most fractures are, what orientations they're in, and then you want to hit the ones that are critically stressed. Because you could hit a lot of fractures, but they're slammed shut and they're no use to you. And that's not a good thing. What you want to do is hit the most optimally oriented fractures you can. Whether you're developing a field or whether you're appraising a well, you want a good well test out of that. These are really simple and quick analyses that you can do to really give you an extra edge on that. So that's just one of the things that we provide. If you want to know more, please speak to StratOil Energy Services in Egypt. They'll put you in touch with us as well, and we look forward to introducing you to some of the other services that we offer in due course. For now, thanks very much for listening.